Today we're taking a look at some updated trade talk from Elliotte Friedman and other NHL insiders regarding Bo Horvat, Puljujarvi, as well as Timo Meier. Could they all be moved before the NHL trade deadline? Plus, could the Buffalo Sabres possibly trade an interesting goalie prospect to upgrade other areas of the team? We have a waiver claim. Tolvanen is no longer a Nashville Predator. Where did he go, and why did so many other teams pass on the youngster? Plus, we have an update on a few other NHL items from around the league, including another Sens ownership tidbit. We'll discuss all that and more coming up next. Welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have a variety of NHL news and some trade talk to take a look at here today. But first up, I want to introduce an old channel sponsor coming back to the channel to work with us here once again, and that is Exter Smart Wallet. So I hope you'll take a look at this brand and support them. I've worked with them off and on for the past year plus. I have a few of their products, which I absolutely love myself. They do specialize in what they call a smart wallet. They have high quality leather products. I have one I've been using myself for some time. Just to give you a quick look here, essentially a nice high quality Italian leather. You can make your cards pop out just like this really quick. Obviously it comes right up the top, and it comes with a tracker that you can use in the back here, which is you can use an app on your phone. So that's why it's a smart wallet. So you can never lose your wallet. It'll always be tracking it so that you'll know where it is at any time. If you misplace it, if you're like me and you know sometimes get a little bit disorganized, it can come in handy. So they have some great products here. They also have, which I don't know if they have any for sale right now, but I also do have this, what I use when I travel. This very nice high quality leather laptop sleeve, which they don't have a lot of, but they have them available from time to time. I'm not sure if they have anybody on their site, any of them on their site right now, but we do have a good promo here, good Christmas sale going on, which you can use a promo code TSH. There's a link down in the pinned comment. Is shop.exter.com, and you can get up to 40% off with promo code TSH. So certainly take a look at the pinned comment. If you're interested in the brand, I'd really appreciate it if you consider supporting them. Some great products, and with this discount, some great prices ahead of the holiday season. Now, as I mentioned, we have a lot of NHL news to take a look at today, including a waiver claim. Eeli Tolvanen, no longer a Nashville Predator. He was claimed by the Seattle Kraken. Not a shocker that they would put a claim in for this young player. They're having a solid year, and why not grab another free asset to make it even better? But this goes to show you that 22 other teams already passed on him and did not put a claim in. If you look at the waiver order, claiming order, it's basically the reverse order of the NHL standings, and the Kraken are having a good year. So they're high up there. So that means 22 teams are ranked lower than them in the standings and did not put a claim in, because they would have got preference here over Seattle had that actually taken place. So Tolvanen, of course, the former first-round pick in 2017 of Nashville, has had limited NHL success, you could say. He's had a decent amount of NHL games now. I believe he's played 135 games, putting up around 50 points, but not consistently getting the results he's looking for. A fresh start was certainly in the cards. The Predators apparently ended up in a situation where they have a lot of blue line injuries, trying to bring some more defensemen up and adjust their roster here, and they didn't have much of a choice, according to Elliotte Friedman, to put it forward on waivers, and they decided to take their chances here with Tolvanen. He has another year left on his contract, $1.45 million, and Seattle will gladly take that on and give this guy a chance to see if he can fit. So it'll be interesting to see how he does in Seattle, if he can regain that scoring touch we saw when he was younger around his draft time. Has a really good shot, and some teams, according to Friedman, viewed him as being a little bit one-dimensional, and we'll see. I mean, obviously a team who needs to score some more goals might be where he needs to be. So if it's not Seattle, could he end up on waivers again? I wouldn't think, but time will tell and see how he does with his fresh start. We do have two new players on waivers today as well, including Dyson Mayo in Arizona, and to make room on the roster, the Seattle Kraken have placed Carson Kuhlman on waivers as well. So both those guys, we'll find out at 2 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow if they're returning or being demoted or going to a new team, or how that's going to work out for them once their waivers time comes to a close here. Now, a little bit of a feature I want to do here is this day in hockey history. It was actually 30 years ago yesterday that Gary Bettman became commissioner of the NHL. So he's been at the reins of the league now for 30 years. It's hard to imagine how much time has flown by here. Of course, the first commissioner after they changed the structure of everything prior to that. So certainly Gary Bettman has done a lot of good. I think he's made some questionable decisions. I think like most guys running a major sports league or a big corporation or however you want to compare him to, like a CEO or whatnot, there's always the good with the bad. He gets booed a lot, but I certainly want to recognize the 30-year anniversary of him becoming commissioner, and I'd love to know your thoughts. What do you think is the best thing that Bettman has done? And what is probably the biggest mistake that he's made? Leave some comments down below here, and we'll talk about it further in the comment section. It's certainly something to generate, I think, a lot of big conversation piece. I'd love to know what everybody thinks. And also on this day, back 27 years ago, was when the New York Islanders named Mike Milbury the general manager. Of course, he was already with the organization as a coach, became GM, and that was a major mistake in a big black mark on Islanders history. In my opinion, and I think a lot of people would probably agree with me, especially longtime Islander fans, Milbury was arguably the worst thing to ever happen to that organization. It was a storied, very successful franchise. Obviously had a great run in the 80s with 4 consecutive Stanley Cups, and the Milbury era was a real dark time for the Islanders. A lot of questionable, really bad trades, questionable contracts. It was just... It was not a good time in Islanders history at all, and it's been 27 years now, and it's taken him a while. Obviously, after he left to kind of come out of things, the Gareth Snow era, you could maybe argue was a little better, but still had a lot of questionable things going on as well. But the last number of years since Stephen Snow left, and of course we saw John Tavares leave, their top, highest draft pick, and one of their greatest players in more modern history. And then after that, they've really taken off and become a stronger team overall. So I know a lot of us thought the Islanders were going to sink once Tavares left, and they've certainly proved everybody wrong that they're actually a way better team without him. It's not a one-man show. It's certainly a 23-man roster for a reason. So a couple of important times there back in the hockey history book. So I always like to take a look at those once in a while and take a look back and see how things have gone over the course of history. Big night in Ottawa tonight. They're introducing another member to their Ring of Honor. Number 6, Wade Redden, will take his rightful spot up there. Of course, Redden had a lot of great years with the Ottawa Senators. Of course, linked him to the New York Islanders as well after being drafted there. Even head coach of the Senators, DJ Smith, was also a New York Islanders drafted prospect. And he and Redden were brief roommates during their early days of training camp during those times as well. But Wade Redden had a great run with Ottawa and will be remembered and honored this evening as they get ready to face the Anaheim Ducks. A couple of notes for Sens fans. Alex DeBrincat and Cam Talbot are both game-time decisions. Don't know which one is which. I believe DeBrincat's dealing with a minor injury, and there'll be a game-time decision. And Talbot apparently is under the weather. Not quite sure if he's going to go. He is scheduled to be the starter tonight. If he's too sick to play, then they'll go with, of course, his tandem partner, Anton Forsberg. Now, staying with the Sens here for a minute, athletic reporter Ian Mendes has some updates here regarding the Sens ownership situation. Obviously, we know that there is a big sale coming here real soon. We've had all kinds of rumors about who could be involved and who the new group could be. One thing that Mendes is reporting on today, though, which will make that process a little bit easier, is, of course, former owner Eugene Melnyk, who recently passed away. And, of course, his daughters are now holding the ownership reins of that team while they go through this process. Melnyk had some outstanding lawsuits with former partner John Ruddy. Of course, they were putting the joint bid together to hopefully gain the new arena at LeBreton Flats years back, and ended up in a major dispute, big lawsuits, and that is reportedly getting close to being settled. Apparently, it is scheduled to be heard before the courts on January 3rd, and Mendes is reporting that it's expected to be settled out of court before that, so it does not reach that stage. That would be a big obstacle to get away from the organization and for obviously the new ownership team to not have to worry about. Of course, it's going to be a big project. The new ownership have to agree to continue the process here with the new downtown arena at LeBreton Flats, which the Senators have once again been the preferred bidders on to build and develop that down there, which would be huge for the development and future of this franchise. So we'll see. And of course, as I mentioned yesterday or in the last couple of days, Michael Andlauer, current minority owner of the Habs and billionaire himself, is rumored to be possibly the front runner or one of the front runners, leading a group. And apparently some of the other groups are even talking to each other about making, joining forces, you could say, making a more powerful group. But Andlauer, of course, arrived at the Board of Governors meetings in Florida earlier, which Frankie Saravalli was reporting on, that he is in Florida here, actually where I'm in Florida as well, currently Universal Studios Resort. And, obviously I'm not at the Board of Governors meetings, but certainly that's a little ways away from me. But still, that may or may not have anything to do with his Senators bid. It could be related to the fact that he's a minority owner of the Habs, and he apparently does make appearances sometimes at these meetings based on that status. So we'll see. But that's what's going on and expected in the latest round of news in regards to that situation, in which we'll hopefully get more confirmation on here in the next few weeks. Now, in the trade section of the video, could the Buffalo Sabres trade one of their prized prospects in order to gain other areas of the team to kind of strengthen other parts of it? And that's goalie prospect Eric Portillo. Of course, right now this team has better goaltending depth than it has in recent years. Of course, you get the veteran Craig Anderson there holding down the fort, good placeholder. He might be dealt by the trade deadline. It's kind of difficult to say for certain. I mean, if there's enough of a market for him and he wants to go, then he might. But I know the Sabres will probably do right by Anderson, and if he doesn't want to go, they may not do that. But besides Anderson, of course, I got Eric Comrie, of course, working with him as a tandem partner, and Comrie's much younger and certainly, could be a part of the team's future. Hard to say, but he's getting more of an opportunity than he has in the past. They still have Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, who it's hard to say if he's ever going to be the starting goaltender for this team. But I know at one point he was the goalie of the future, and I'm not sure if that's uncertain right now, but certainly not a given that he becomes that. But they also have Devin Levi, who they picked up in a trade from the Florida Panthers in the Sam Reinhart deal, who was arguably one of the best, if not the best, goalie prospect outside the NHL, or one of them for sure anyways. And he's having another solid year playing U.S. college hockey, still, having some really solid numbers and results, whereas Eric Portillo also playing NCAA hockey at the University of Michigan. His numbers are down a bit this year, so there is some concern that way. But I know, according to Sabres reporter Lance Lazowski, there's been concern over the past year even that he's even going to be willing to sign with the Sabres. Looking at the future, he's going to want to be given some kind of certainty that he's going to given a good chance to make the NHL roster and play. And looking at what they have in front of them, that might be challenging between Levi and Luukkonen and Comrie. It's hard. And they also have Malcolm Subban, who I don't really see as being a big part of the future either. But still, there's lots of goalies there. No guarantees that he gets a great run. So if they're not going to be able to sign this guy, and if he's going to possibly consider playing until he becomes a UFA, why not trade the Swedish netminder and get something in return? I mean, he's 6'6", got great size, good athletic ability, highly regarded prospect by many, and they might be able to move him in order to get, like I said, another something else for their team moving forward. I think they're pretty solid on the blue line. I wouldn't be shocked if they maybe try to find another forward. Lots of teams looking for goaltending help, and even though it's not going to be an immediate help where he's younger prospect goalie, but still somebody to keep an eye on here that we might see moved down the road. Now, could the Devils, as I talked about in the last day or so, make a big splash at the deadline? I talked about some prospects that they might be willing to move, like Alexander Holtz or Seamus Casey. The Devils having a solid year. They're going to want to make a run for it here, and I'm sure that Tom Fitzgerald is going to want to reward his team with a nice upgrade at the deadline of some sort. And could that be Sharks winger Timo Meier? Timo Meier certainly a guy to watch in San Jose. He's due a $10 million qualifying offer this offseason. And even though he's an RFA, and you don't normally see this, some teams might look at him as a rental pickup. They could choose to pick him up by trade and then either try to negotiate a less than $10 million contract if they can get him to sign one on an extension, or they could just not qualify him and let him go as a UFA this offseason. That is a possibility. It's not something that's very common. Sometimes with these big QOs, teams basically have to rely on the fact that they're going to try to negotiate something shorter, and they can even take the player to arbitration in a team-elected arbitration case and try to get the contract lowered that way if they don't feel the player's lived up to it. But, I mean, he's a two-time 30-goal man. He's on pace to do that or better this year. He's already got, I think, 14 goals in the season. So at this rate, he's on pace to probably score closer to 40 if he keeps that up. I'm just doing the math here in my head. I don't know exactly what it projects out to be, but certainly 30 plus for sure. And it could be a nice, interesting fit with the Devils. I mean, Alexander Holtz might be a great replacement in San Jose to help them get younger, get more cap flexibility. I don't know how Jersey handles it from a cap perspective. That will be challenging. They could move the contract of Damon Severson, which will help a little bit, at least for the current year. but would they want to try to do it just as a rental? I don't know, but there's other teams reportedly interested in Meier as well. It just makes me wonder if the Devils would have the best chance, and maybe he could reconnect with fellow countryman Nico Hischier, both from Switzerland. Although they being 3 years apart, they haven't really played a lot together at past international events. There's, I think, been some, but not a whole lot because of the age difference at junior levels and all that. But still, a couple of guys would be very familiar with each other and could be a great fit here as well. So we'll see with the Devils, but Meier might be a player to watch. Other teams to look out for too would be like the Islanders, who we know want a scoring forward, and maybe even others as well. There's lots of teams that would be interested, I'm sure, and we'll take a look and see. But Meier, to me, it makes a lot of sense for the Sharks to restock the cupboards. Now, Elliot Friedman's also reporting a little bit more updates on the Jesse Puljujarvi situation with Edmonton, as we talked about on 32 Thoughts on the Hockey Night in Canada program on Saturday. Basically, he elaborated more on the podcast that came out today, talking about the fact that basically Puljujarvi's agent and the Oilers talked before the season and had a handshake agreement that if things weren't going the best, that they would move him and try to do their best to find him a fresh start somewhere else. He's got 1 goal in the season. His defensive metrics still look pretty good, so he's not really a liability out there, but he's also not helping and not contributing offensively, which is a big problem. The Oilers are, a team that is very top heavy, and they need secondary scoring from their players, making less money on the roster and, the third and fourth lines, and they're not getting enough of that right now. And Puljujarvi is, obviously we heard comments from him as well, talking to a Finnish reporter recently, really questioning his future at Edmonton and the NHL in general. Not that they've done anything wrong, just that it's not working out for him, and he doesn't sound like he has a whole lot of confidence in himself. So maybe a fresh start somewhere else might be what's needed. Problem is he's making $3 million, and it might be a turnoff for some teams to take on a $3 million player when you're not doing well. But maybe a team like the Ducks, for example, could take a chance on this player, get him into the mix with their young guys, take a flyer on him. And you know what? If it doesn't work out, you don't qualify him at the end of the season, let him become a UFA, maybe he signs somewhere else. Or if it is kind of working out, maybe he signs an extension before he becomes an RFA, and you get him to the point where he's maybe making less money on a new contract here, not too far into the future. And lastly, here, your update on Bo Horvat in Vancouver. Rick Dollywall's reporting that essentially it sounds like the Canucks have recently made a new updated offer. It's still under $8 million per year in a long-term deal, and it's been rejected by Horvat and his agent. So certainly it sounds like his time in Vancouver will come to a close. Friedman reported on Puljujarvi that he feels this is his last year in Edmonton, kind of saying the same sort of things along with Dollywall that time is running out for Horvat in Vancouver, that a trade seems all but inevitable now after the latest rounds of negotiation. Certainly sounds like it's just a hit a brick wall there. Obviously, I know some feel that maybe a JT Miller trade could happen, even though they just signed a long-term deal. But I know Vancouver media is saying there's just probably no chance that Rutherford and Alvin are going to do that, because that's going to show that they basically admitting that they made a mistake and signed the wrong guy. And I don't know that they're going to do that either. Maybe down the road, but not now. And Horvat is... it's probably going to be the first time, I believe, if I'm not mistaken here, that the Canucks actually trade their captain during the season. I don't think that's ever happened in Vancouver before, but it certainly sounds like they could get a good haul based on what he's, contributing and playing this year. Some wonder, though, is it risky? Is it a case where he's in a contract year and he's cashing in? That happens a lot. He could go back to being a 50, 60-point player, middle six centerman after this season. If they sign him for too much money, it could be a problem. But it's certainly a great player all around. I have no doubt there's going to be lots of interest from a variety of teams, but it does sound like his time in Vancouver is coming to a close here. Just a matter of where he ends up and when this takes place, sometime between now and the NHL trade deadline. So that is all your news, rumors, and updates here for today. As I mentioned before, check out the pinned comment down below for the link to the product I was talking about at the beginning of the video, the extra smart wallets. And we can take a look at the comment section and see, as I mentioned before, make sure you leave some comments on Bettman's tenure as NHL commissioner. I want to know what everybody's thoughts are on the 30-year reign. So let me know your thoughts on all that and more down in the comments. We'll talk about it further. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with the latest news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.